Buddhist Science is a study on Buddhism based on facts and science.
The first suttas after the Buddha's enlightenment by Venerable Rungruang Papatsaro, Dr. Rungruang Limchoopatipa. After the enlightenment, the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree peacefully for 7 days reviewing all the knowledge that he gained from the enlightenment. Then he announced the First Buddha Sutta briefing on the knowledge gained from the enlightenment as follows.
All beings are having a serious problem, suffering in pain because when they perceive the world, and mistakenly assuming that there is a self of being someone and owning something, and then unnoticeably developing this self with desires. As a consequence, people mistakenly drive to do everything in favor and trying to please to this self. But unfortunately, the world does not function in the ways to their expectations, and no matter how much they try to do, the world can never fulfill their demands anyway. Therefore, eventually all people will end up with suffers.
This sutta begins with addressing the fundamental problem of all beings in the world. In Buddhism, what is happening in the world, either happiness or unhappiness due to the law of nature, the law of cause and effect, not because of anyone wishing. There is no such supernatural power or no one who can promise a forever happiness.
The mind with an assumption of self, occurring during having a consciousness on arriving stimulus from the world, and then the mind will react to the receiving stimulus with craving and clinging, respectively.
As stated in the process of dependent origination by regarding form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. He regards feeling as self, perception as self, volitional formations as self, consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness.
The clinging on the 5 aggregates of being as a self will cover up the reality of the world, and as a result, demanding the world to be permanent, not deteriorating, and being a self of someone, with desire and lust. Thus, the more they enjoy with the world, the more they are in danger of leading to suffers.
In accord to the process of dependent origination, when a stimulus from the world arrives to contact on the 6 sense bases, immediately a feeling arises. This is a critical moment because most people will assume that there is a self of being someone to feel on it, such as there is a self to feel happy or painful, then there is someone to make me happy or painful. And if I feel happy, then I want to keep it forever, while when feeling painful, then I want to get rid of it right away. And by being a self of someone, the mind will struggle in craving by trying to sustain the happiness and to get rid of the pain. Unfortunately, this will not be a case because a particular feeling is just a state of mind, as the object of consciousness that will arise and cease, respectively. And as the mind is craving the matter with desire and lust, the mind unnoticeably clings on the particular mental object in relation with the 5 aggregates of being. After clearly understanding the problem within the mind processing, then the Buddha explains the purpose of the Buddhism is to study the truths of life, and then using this knowledge to resolve the problem as follows.
The Buddhism is about the study of the truths of life within nature so that we can use the gained knowledge to respond to the world rightly. What is the knowledge? Those who claims that either there is a becoming of something, or becoming of nothing, both are not correct. Because no matter how much they try to do, eventually they will end up with suffering anyway. That is how identity the right view comes to be. It is important to consider on what is happening in life, and the cause of problem in life carefully. The fact is that the object of consciousness arises and ceases in nature. However, as long as the mind is still clinging on the object of consciousness in related to form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, that causes the mind to become of self, and then with ignorance, messing around with the matter. Therefore, the only way to resolve this problem is to release the object of consciousness in related to a body, a feeling, a perception, mental formations, and a consciousness by realizing that all the objects of consciousness are impermanent, deteriorating, and no self. In doing so, then the mind will release all troubling matters with wisdom, and the mind can be naturally liberated from the problem, including all kinds of craving, that is, craving for sensual pleasure, craving for extermination, and craving for existence. And as a result, all suffers in life will be completely eradicated from the individual person. Those who see and realize all of these truths of life within nature will develop an insight wisdom on the reality of life, and then being able to spin off from both the craving for being and the craving for not being. And then the craving will be totally eliminated, and reaching a special state of mind called nirvana. Those who put an effort to study, then being successful in eliminating all the defilements, contaminants generated by the wrong processing within the mind, like a sun arising up in the morning, and eliminating all the darkness away, and then the person will become a noble person, like the Buddha.
The Buddha explained that if all clinging of the 5 aggregates of being is released, then there will be nothing left to be mixed with latent dispositions, therefore there is no mental formations with ignorance, and no arising canker within the mind processing, and no craving any more, and then the mind is liberated, and attaining a state of nirvana. After the Buddha enlightenment, the Buddha reviewed the knowledge that gained from the enlightenment, and he felt that this knowledge was very abstract and it was too difficult to be understood. At the beginning he decided not to teach this knowledge to the public. However, later he realized that by setting up a proper study system based on facts, then there were some people who still could learn and contemplate this knowledge, as he classified people into different categories as compared to a different type of lotuses in a pond as follows.
Those who has a capability to learn and develop an insight wisdom right away. It is like a lotus that will bloom in the next day. Those who has faith to be good. It is like a lotus that need times to bloom in the future. But those who is a bad person, it is like the rotten lotus that is spoiled one underwater.
The enlightenment is a very special event in the mankind history. It demonstrates that any human being with good heart, if setting up and performing a certain experimental procedure following the Buddha's way, then he or she also can experience and learn the truths of life within nature. The enlightenment later becomes a foundation of the Buddhist practice for all mankind. And since after the enlightenment gaining the truths of life within nature, the Buddha spent the rest of his life teaching the truths of life within nature to the world, his collective teachings are called the Buddha's teachings or Dharma.